Hey guys, welcome back to another very late video. Today we'll be discussing some things regarding Dead by Daylight's 10th anniversary. Now, I know a lot of people have been hoping for characters like Pennywise and Jason, but let's talk about what we know and what I personally think the actual 10th anniversary chapter will be. Let's start with what we do know. So the very first teaser is one that tells us the dates for potential teasers. It's pretty normal, however, this number down here is divisible by 13, keep that in mind. Also, Jason Voorhees' birthday is circled here as well. This teaser, for the most part, is a nothing burger, and is just something showing important dates. So with that, let's move on to... Today, as I'm writing this, we got a new teaser for the 10th anniversary chapter along with the blog post. Now, let's talk about it because people are blowing this teaser out of proportions and making wild guesses. Let me take the wheel for a second and let's give my honest opinion on it.
It slips into your darkest memories. Each stolen fragment becomes a weapon. Your fears, the tools of your suffering. It feeds on your mind's hollow echoes, growing in the dark places where light once lived. It shows you a world stitched from whispers, where your thoughts fracture and dissolve into delusion. An ancient being, the embodiment of unspeakable evil. It lures its prey deep within, tearing through the fabric of reality. For reasons no one dares to comprehend. And you'll never escape. You belong to it.
The video is talking about the entity. Yeah, no shit. But some people are saying it's about Pennywise? This comes from little teases such as the Stephen King signature with the little crown on top, a shot of the sewers, and finally the narrator saying it at the end and throughout the short. I find this honestly hilarious, and that people actually and genuinely think that it's talking about Pennywise. So let me point out some things. Let's not forget the word shark written here. Could be a Jaws chapter, a subway that, or technically a train, I don't know which one it is, that's similar to the one that Jason was in. Oh boy, it could also be Friday the 13th. Uh, it's about the entity. And I can prove it with this frame, which is also the first thing you see on the blog post for my Dead by Daylight players out there who don't read. This was on there, and it's literally the entity's claws and limbs. That is like the most definitive proof I could ever show. It's right here. The whole teaser is basically just a fun way to talk about the main villain of Dead by Daylight and bring back the old narrator, which we haven't heard for roughly 9-ish years. Whew. All right, now with that out of the way, let's talk about what we think the actual killer can be. Personally, I fuck with whoever comes to the fog next. I'm not a picky guy when it comes to licensed chapters. So, currently we have Pennywise and Jason tied for first place as the most anticipated. Both are pretty damn likely. However, I feel like it's leaning more so to Jason. Now, does that think I mean Jason should be the 10th year killer? For starters, Jason would have to come with a map, obviously, which could revamp the entire swamp realm that was seemingly skipped after the Realms Beyond update, and apparently has been in the works for a long time. Do I think they're going to add Camp Crystal Lake into the game for this specific realm? Most likely. But then that raises the question, what the hell would Jason even do? Like, what would his power be? What is his move set, basically? I feel like that would be for a different video. Let's see if this video gets about 10 likes. I'll do like a whole potential Jason breakdown video. Preferably tomorrow, because let's not forget that the 20th, we get our second teaser. Technically third. But moving away from Jason, let's talk about the clown. Pennywise is also a high contender for the Fog's next edition. However, we don't know if Stephen King or Warner Brothers opened up to Dead by Daylight, and chapters take years to make. So I doubt they had this worked out a couple years back, unless Stephen King was lying to us about not liking video games, like when people started to speculate. So basically, I don't think it's as likely as Jason. So that's that's my take on it. Um, but let's move on to characters I personally would like to see in the fog. But if you just wanted an accurate news for this specific chapter, you don't have to watch this part. But I would say I'm basically an expert on like 90% of horror IPs. So this if you guys are interested in other people's takes, I would recommend listening to mine. Also, before we move on to this next segment, let me say that I am hosting a Dead by Daylight tournament next week, which starts on the 29th after my birthday. If you guys would be interested, you guys can check out my Discord or my Twitter at randodude557. Uh, you guys should pretty quickly figure out that it's me. Make sure that you check the link on there and make sure it's linked to my Twitter and to my Twitch. So here's my top 3 killers I personally would like to see in the fog. The Ink Demon. Bendy has been open for collabs and is one and has one game related collab in the talks or even in the works. We could see Bendy join the fog because I mean if FNAF is the godfather of indie horror, Bendy was the godmother of stylized indie horror. It's fit for a king. The Ink Demon would be sick as fuck to have on top of potential Rift passes, which can give characters Bendy styled outfits and a legendary skin for the artist doesn't really fit the Ink Demon. I know a lot of people have been saying if Bendy joins the fog, it's just going to be a legendary skin for blah blah blah, and the artist comes up because of the ink and everything. I don't think Bendy would even be able to fit the skin for artist because the body proportions would be all over the place, and also it would just be bad because it has nothing to do with Bendy. And also, there's so many different killer potentials from Dark Revival and the Ink Machine. And with the cage right around the corner, I could see it happening this year or even next year. Slender Man. This is a classic. I don't really need to explain it more than both parties seem interested, and Slenderman is a very iconic character. There is actually a pretty good concept on YouTube. I would recommend watching it. I don't really have much else to say about this segment. An honorable mention is Postal 2. I would love to have the Postal Dude in Dead by Daylight, and Running with Scissors has had interest in Dead by Daylight as well. If it's not a full chapter, a skin collection or just a legendary skin for Ace and Jonah would be fine. The Predator. Do I even need to explain why? Skins, Alien, and Predator 2v8 map potential for Swamp. There is lists upon lists of so many reasons he needs to be in the game. Plus, they already have the rights to Alien vs. Predator due to that one Alien skin, and they're in good works with Disney. So I think that the kit potential could be incredible. The power, mwah, chef's kiss. There is so many things he could do. The Mori could be absolutely brutal, just like the movies. And let's not even mention the survivor potential as well. Let's give the survivor players a little love here. They can play as Dutch from the very first Predator movie, or any of the different main characters from the Predator franchise, even though the first one's pretty much the only good one. I guess, except for the new one that came out, but let's be honest, I didn't watch it simply because I was afraid of Disney screwing up my beloved boy like they did with that one alien movie that we do not talk about. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I have nothing more to say. All right, bye.